Hi, I'm Greg Uland with Reynolds, and this is Connected live at NADA. Right now, I'm joined by Tuck and David Reinicke from Automotive Warranty Network. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us,
Thanks
Greg.
for having us, Greg.
Yep, absolutely. So it's been obviously a really busy show. Sounds like you're getting to talk to a lot of your partners.
It's been great.
But for those of you that aren't partnering with you yet, give kind of a high-level overview what you all do at
Sure.
Automotive Warranty Network, and then we can go from there.
Perfect.
I'll let Jason take that one.
Yeah, so we are a third-party vendor. We process warranty claims for car dealerships. Typically, that's an in-house person that fulfills that duty. However, they outsource it to a company like us so that we process those warranty claims to the manufacturer timely, accurately, and compliantly. So
Yeah.
We have a lot of experienced people, so instead of just training somebody to do it in the dealership, we have experienced people that it's kind of turnkey, so they can come on board with our company. We have administrators that know BMW, Mercedes, Ford, whatever manufacturer, so we can kind of plug an admin in for a dealership pretty immediately. So,
Yeah.
and our admins keep up with all the policies and procedures and everything the manufacturer requires for payment. So,
Okay, good. So, one concept we were kind of talking before we started recording, and there's this idea that was a little bit fascinating to me. You guys brought up was this idea of kind of grading a warranty administrator. So you have a warranty administrator in your store, and a lot of roles inside the store. Whether it's a salesperson, they got a goal, and either they hit the number or they don't hit the number,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have an advisor and you have a technician, and they're graded down to the minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have these metrics across the entire dealership. But I hadn't really thought about it until you brought it up. How do you grade a warranty administrator in the store?
that's a great question. So there's a couple of different ways you do so. What we do is we look at the warranty schedule. So how much is sitting on that warranty receivable schedule that has not been submitted, has not been paid. If you've got a claim that's sitting over 30, 40 days old, you've got a claim that potentially could time out now, or the manufacturer is going to be like, why are you taking so long for that claim to be submitted? So clean warranty schedules is number one, your work in process. So how many claims do you have open that have been closed or not closed but are ready to be closed and they're just sitting for days on end? Everything's about cash flow. Similar in the sales department, you don't let a customer leave until they buy the car, or you try everything that you can to get them to buy into that. But if you got a work in process that's lengthy, you've got a schedule that's lengthy, that's money that they're just sitting on that hasn't been submitted. So that's a good scorecard. The other side is maybe it's the warranty trim report with the manufacturer. That is another great metrics because they grade the dealership. How long does it take to have a completed repair order submitted to them? And if you're over that threshold, that's a potential trigger for a review or an audit with that manufacturer, because you should be submitting that claim in real time. You shouldn't be sitting on it.
a lot of manufacturers have metrics that they grade first-time submission rates. So, are you just throwing it against the wall to see if it sticks and keep submitting it? Days to payment. So, those kind of things, a dealership can pull their trend reports and grade their warranty administrator based on that information. How they're submitting the claims to the manufacturer and what's the timeliness of that.
Yeah.
But the biggest one is the warranty schedule.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing we look at with any new client is pull that list of claims that it's not submitted and where you at. So
Is it fair to say that maybe there's not a bright light kind of shown on that traditionally inside the store? I mean, when you start to work with somebody, whether it's a customer currently or somebody that you're kind of approaching to talk to, typically, I mean, do you find that it's like, well, we don't really look at that close, or is that an unfair assessment?
I mean, it can be. I mean, I think sometimes it's the service manager going to the admin and saying, hey, are we good on these claims? And they're like, yeah, it's in process. It's in the manufacturer's hands. And that may not always be the case. Sometimes it is. But ultimately, you just want to make sure that you're looking at it, because if you let that sit and you're not placing eyes on it, it stacks up, and then you've got a lot of receivables that could potentially be uncollected.
just dependent on how diligent the dealership is,
Sure.
right? I mean, we have some clients that come to us and they haven't looked at the schedule in 6 months or whatever the case may be, and it's just something, if you keep your eye on that, at least monitor it. I'd say at least once a month, but more frequently the better. So
Yeah, that makes sense. So you mentioned kind of audits earlier. You were talking about how things can trigger audits. So what are some of those common things that would trigger an audit from an OEM, right? What are if you got a checklist, I don't know if it's 3 or 5 or whatever. What are some of those most common items that would trigger an audit?
So a lot of times it's cost per repair. How much parts and labor are you claiming on the repair comparable to your peers? So if you're an ABC Ford here, you're graded to a similar store in your area, your volume. Are you higher than that? A couple other metrics are that how long are you taking to submit that repair to the manufacturer? How many times is it rejecting? So is the admin submitting it 14 times until it's paid? Well, the manufacturers will go, what's going on here?
Right.
Like, why did you take 14 times to submit that repair over to us before it was accurate? So those are big scoring metrics. Repeat repairs is a big one for the manufacturer. So if the car came in 2 weeks ago and now it's back with the same concern, check engine light's on, was it misdiagnosed the last visit that it was here? And those are things that cause that manufacturer to come in and do a review. The trend report is another one. The trim report is something that they monitor heavily, and then some of it's just
I was going to say
routine.
More and more, it's becoming periodic.
Yeah.
So they're coming no matter what. So it's every 2 years, every year, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
We have some dealerships that they're getting audited to the date, 2
really?
years from
3 years.
So a lot of manufacturers are gearing up to audit more. In past years, I know some manufacturers that we talk to have only been able to audit about 10% of their dealerships a year. They're trying to get to 100%.
Right.
And I think last year and so far this year, they're probably going to be closer to 80% on some of those manufacturers.
Really?
So, in 2024, I think out of 1,600 clients, we probably had maybe 10 of them get audited. 2025, we had 90 dealerships get audited. And so far in 2026, we're only through January now, we already had 15 stores get audited.
Oh,
wow. It's a big thing for dealerships to pay attention to because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's not always just a trigger, it's going to be periodic.
Sure. So as that cadence ramps up and speeds up, where it is every 12 months or whatever it might be, what are, how do you prepare? Like, is there a checklist? What are the high visibility items that you need to say, okay, this is what's going to get looked at. Need to make sure that you're clean on these 5 things. But
so, every manufacturer has a policy and procedure manual. It's like 450 pages. It's not very interesting read, but, that's where like the nuts and bolts are of what they should be doing. But the things that we see are repair specific. So whether it requires single-use parts, if you take this axle off, it requires an axle nut to be replaced. Did they get replaced? So, following through on the single one-time use parts.
That's probably the biggest one, I
Really?
will say.
Yeah.
Because, it's a technician following the repair procedure from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
It's very, very common for them to not follow through. If they've done that repair 100 times, like they just want to go and repair the vehicle, right? They're not necessarily going through the repair manual and saying, I need these nuts and bolts. But if those nuts and bolts aren't replaced, then that's going to be a chargeback. The manufacturer has that information. They know what parts you submitted with the repair order, right? So I'd say that's probably the number one thing dealerships probably get tripped up with. So
Single-use parts, workshop instructions, what they did yesterday on that bulletin could potentially have changed today. So a lot of dealers are saying, hey, I've done 100 of these repairs. The same tech's doing them, but today that policy changed or that process changed, and now there's an extra step within that repair procedure that the technician just didn't notice or review that bulletin.
Yeah.
Low-hanging fruit is customer signatures and add-on authorizations, management approvals, things like that. Those are the easy things. It doesn't matter about how accurate the tech did the repair. If it's missing a signature, it's a chargeback. So dealers really need to inspect the RO documentation to make sure it's accurate, because it really hurts to see the tech did everything right, but the advisor missed the signature on the hard copy. It's like when you go to a restaurant. Normally you pay with a credit card, they bring it out, you either sign on the kiosk or you sign on paper. Like, that's an easy process. Customers are used to signing, but it's forgotten about. Somebody either forgot it or they got lazy. They said, hey, I'll get it later. It got missed and it got reviewed and charged back.
Yeah. So I think there's 2 things to maybe talk about there. So the one is what you're talking about, which is execute the process the right way, right? And probably have, if possible, some forced march steps in there throughout the process where you can't move forward without it. I mean, a signature is an easy one.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Especially if it's electronic. You say you can't close the repair order
right
until we collect a signature, period. and then you have to collect a signature.
Mm-hmm.
So having those kind of forced march steps,
Yep.
especially in a digital environment,
Mm-hmm.
can it sounds like at least really help with some of that.
Yeah.
But that leads to the other part of my question. You mentioned the single-use parts.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great example. So if a tech doesn't do that or
Mm-hmm.
doesn't follow the bulletin, follow the manual exactly to the T,
Mm-hmm.
is there any recourse where the dealer can kind of take care of that after the fact, before the audit comes, or is it just like, we missed that one?
That's a good question. It's all up to the auditor, right? So it's
Okay.
going to be grace. I mean, how frequent is that happening? Are they seeing it, 7 out of 10 repairs? They're missing that component. They're probably not going to have any grace in that situation. We all make mistakes in the manufacturer. These auditors are not out there to just, egregiously take money away from the dealership.
It can feel like it sometimes.
Right.
but-
It does definitely feel like it, but they're doing their job, and the technician and the service department needs to do theirs as well. So they will play ball as long as it's not a repetitive and it looks like the dealership just doesn't know the process. So
Yeah.
And we
they'll
went
probably
through-
get the car back in the shop, have an RO rewritten for that repair, documenting showing that part was put on, because ultimately at the end of the day, the tech didn't put the part on. Now it's a safety concern for that customer.
Right.
And Ford or whoever that is, whatever manufacturer, could be liable for it because, it's part of that repair procedure.
I was going
Right.
to say, there's a lot of manufacturers that when they go through that audit process and they discover that, they'll allow the certain period of time for the dealership to get the customer back in, repair the vehicle properly, prove to them that it was done, and then, they'll overturn that chargeback.
So in theory, then, if a dealer finds it before, so say I'm prepping for an audit, right? I know my 2-year date's coming up or
Yeah.
whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
And say, you know what? I'm going to pull a random sample, and I find a warranty repair order that, in this example, right? I didn't
Yeah.
replace the axle nut, and I need to.
Mm-hmm.
Would I then be able to contact the customer, say, hey, we did that work on your vehicle about 8 months ago. I was doing a review of our repair orders, and I noticed that there's actually a piece of the repair that wasn't completed. We need to put a new axle nut on
Right.
there. We have it in stock. It'll only take about an hour. Could you bring that vehicle down? We'll take care of it for you.
Sure.
I'll even give you a loaner, or I'll
Yeah.
give you a demo vehicle to use while we have your car. If they do that, and then the audit comes, is that
Yeah.
resolved?
Yeah.
It's acceptable.
And number one thing is it's morally correct, because you want to
Oh, sure.
take care of that customer. You want it to be safe for them. It's not just the vehicle. It's got, mom and kids in the vehicle that are driving to and from school or wherever it is, but it's the morally right thing to do. And then if you're transparent with the manufacturers, you say like, hey, we missed this, but here's where I actually reviewed it. I did my own review before you came here and showed up, and we made it right for the customer, and I can prove that we did it. They'll probably accept that.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things on that point is, we really try to coach our clients on training their technicians to do it properly, so they don't have to go in and inspect it, because that's very difficult to do too. Those repair manuals are very, very intricate.
Right.
And, so if you're inspecting an RO and you want to see if this was done right or wrong, you're going to have to go through the workshop manual and click down a tree of difficult steps to find
Sure.
out that part was missed. So,
Yeah.
so we really try to help our clients make sure that their technicians are trained and educated to do that properly. And that's a service we also offer to our clients. So we go into the dealership a lot of times and speak with the technicians, advise them on what the requirements are so that
Sure.
they can do it as they're going through the process. So.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So shifting gears a little bit, I'm really interested in if you have any kind of thoughts or ideas on how dealers can get the most out of those warranty tickets, right?
Yeah.
You obviously have the upsell opportunities. You need to do a good inspection. You need to offer up other services that can help the customer. That's certainly a part of it. But what else? Are there different ways that the dealers can make sure? Obviously, they're doing it the right way.
Sure.
But how do they get the most out of those opportunities when they have that customer in?
Yeah, maximizing what you can get out of it. The two biggest things are punch time, documenting and supporting what was performed on the repair. You have to have that regardless. And then the stories documentation. It's not a novel, but tell the story. What did you do? How did you diagnose the concern? What steps did you take? Was there any testing? Was there any results? Lay it all out And then there's labor. Most manufacturers have a labor guide. It's not a shopping cart where you can say, I want a little bit of this and I want a little bit of that, because if you don't support that, then they're going to take it back. So a better story documenting what was performed allows the warranty administrator to go, okay, I see they did this. Here's available labor operations that they're entitled to, and it's supported by their punch time. And that's the best way of maximizing the profit from from a warranty standpoint. So
yeah. And this might get into a little sticky area, but for a lot of manufacturers in a lot of states, warranty submission rates are really based off of customer pay rates too.
Retail.
Right? So when you look at that, it's obviously a balancing act. But are there ways to, I'll say cherry pick kind of your last number of services performed, where maybe your warranty rate is allowed to be a little bit higher? Are there, is there any strategy there where dealers can be fair, but play on kind of their side of the field?
Yeah, so I mean, you want to pull a good sample of set of ROs, and obviously it's a broad spectrum of what they want to see. How long does it take to replace a water pump, customer pay versus what are we paying? Obviously, you want to provide the best data to the manufacturer for the best result, and that's going to be the review process from the service manager or somebody in the dealership going, okay, I don't want to send this over to the manufacturer and say, hey, I want retail rate on this repair or this type of job, when it wasn't even done properly, because that's where they're going to go, well, why would I pay you more when you're not even doing the right steps? So you do want, I don't necessarily say cherry pick, but you do want to look at good, valid warranty repair or customer pay repairs and comparing that to the manufacturer.
So really consistency, right? All the way through. It's just nuts and bolts, blocking and tackling, just be consistent and do it the right way on every repair, whether it's customer repair or warranty. You're going to have that good data set to back up whatever your rate is. Could be high, could be low, but whatever your rate is, you're going to back that up as long as you're consistent across the board.
100%. It starts on the customer pay side. So if you're doing the right step there, documenting the story and you're replacing those single-use parts, because that's still required, whether it's warranty or customer pay repair, it's still a requirement for safety reasons. So as long as you're doing it right on the customer pay side, the warranty reimbursement, the retail rate is going to be higher because you followed the steps. And it's just part of the business is do it right the first time, and you're going to get a good result at the end. So.
No, that's good. So you mentioned stories a couple times, and it seems like that's an area that's really tailor-made to start implementing some artificial intelligence and being able to craft those stories consistently, effectively. Are you seeing that at all? Are dealers starting to put that into practice where, okay, for this piece of the puzzle, this is a really efficient way so that the technician's not sitting there trying to figure out, okay, how do I type this and what should, what do I say? And I'll copy and paste this, but I need to delete this. And it just seems like a really important process, but a manual one if you're doing it on your own.
Unfortunately, it's a very manual process still. So, you're relying on, I was just talking to somebody about this earlier. You still got an advisor that's greeting the customer, that's taking down their complaint. You still got a technician that's fixing the vehicle that doesn't really want to get paid to write a story, right? They want to move on to the next vehicle. So we just really educate dealerships and technicians on writing the best story they can. I mean, I don't know of a lot of tools right now that replace that aspect of it, but
you still have to. Even if you're using other applications that are AI based to create stories, you still have to give it some information to get a result back. And if you're giving it little bits of information, it's only going to give you a little bit back, right?
So I know there's tools out there in the industry that are trying to achieve some of this stuff, but
from a tech standpoint, I think it's definitely beneficial, but it's still like you dial it in manually right now, and then you can work with the AI
and that's a good point, having the data set to work off of, because we talk about it a lot, and having a unified kind of AI data layer for these tools to work off of, because if they don't have the data set to begin with, then the outputs are going to be irrelevant. So I'm thinking out loud here, which is always dangerous when we're recording, but we're showing off Ray, which is our agentic AI assistant in our booth, and we're kind of showing how you can just talk to it and say, hey, I need you to craft an email to Billy, who was in last week, and go ahead and send it to him, and it'll do that. And I'm thinking about, okay, if we have this baseline of every RO in the dealership's history, and I say, hey, for RO 1234, this is a warranty RO with this job on it. Can you craft me a good, compelling story for that? And it could probably do it. I haven't tried it, right? We're kind of on the bleeding edge here, but I bet it would be able to do it. So. And then obviously you have to review it and whatnot, make sure it's good. But I don't know. That's again kind of dangerous thinking out loud without thinking through it first.
I think it's definitely going to be relevant in the future. I think right now we just got to get back to the basics so that we get a better sample and a better result from AI eventually from that point. Because right now we're saying fixed car, okay. What is it going to get? What is the story going to say, right? So from this point moving forward, I think we need to dial in the stories from the technician manually, and then we're going to get a better result eventually down the road. So.
Well, and I guess thinking out loud again on the recording here, but what will manufacturers think about that if it's providing a story based on what the technician is maybe briefly describing, right? Does the manufacturer want to know what they actually did to the vehicle or something that's artificially generated? So because all that's important to lead to product improvement, recalls, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, interesting.
That's a good point. Yeah, always pros and cons, right? Gets and gives. What about on the auditing side? So do you think there's a future where like OEMs will leverage AI to compare, to do the audit essentially, right? Like if you
think so. Yeah, because I mean they're building it now. They're building that data from these, whether it's the trend report or for them the audit results. They're loading that in. So I feel like it will be probably fairly soon that is then AI driven audits.
At least partially. I mean, you should be able to build AI models that can tell you whether technician comments are good or bad, or whether you have in and out punch mileage, those types of things. So there may be a point in time in the near future where most of that's done by AI or by some automated process, and then just bot checking it. So
when we see that even on the warranty submission side right now, I mean we used to have when you submitted a warranty repair, it was a human being, a physical person reviewing that claim and going, okay, it's good, I'll push it through. Or now we have this AI or bots that are checking it and going, hey, you're missing this one-time part, and it rejects. So it's already in place, but I think it's like that gear is just starting to like really get moving. So we'll see it pretty soon, I imagine.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. All these applications, you start thinking about it, and the warranty world is one that it's a lot of money for the dealer, for the OEM, for the consumer too, right? Like depending on what's going on with the car and customer pay work that's added to that warranty ticket. But it's an important part of the business, and making sure that as a dealer, you're getting everything out of it that you can, and that you deserve. I mean, at the end of the day, the technician's doing the work, right? You're floating the parts, like the dealership, and it's just checking these boxes and crossing the T's and dotting the I's and paying attention to the details to make sure that the work that you did is paid for appropriately.
Well, our philosophy is payments, not loans, right? So I mean, most dealerships, service departments, revenue related to warranty is 30-40%. So 30-40% of the income in the service department is related to warranty reimbursement. That's a lot of money if it was done improperly or not being spot checked. That is on the line.
It's a huge industry. I mean, it's it's a big expense to the manufacturer. I can't quote the number, but I know with our dealerships, we have 1,600 stores, and we process over $2 billion a year in warranty. So I mean, there's 16,000 dealerships in the U.S. So I mean, 10X. It's a huge expense for the manufacturer. So it's a lot of money on the line. So
no, it's great stuff. Well, guys, what haven't we talked about that we should? Anything I didn't ask you that I should have while we have any time, or kind of went all over the place? So I feel like we've covered a lot.
No, I think the best thing, we try, gearing towards warranty administration, right? The scorecard, audits, it's all real stuff. It's all things that are happening. The best advice we can give dealerships is, one, be prepared, inspect what you expect. I know it's hard to read a 450-page policy and procedure manual. It's not very glamorous to read but it's their policy, and if you don't follow it, they're going to take that money away. So just shore up your processes, inspect what you expect, and hold people accountable, because ultimately if you want the future to be better than what it is today, you gotta fix it today.
And I'd say the most important thing is pay attention to it today. Unfortunately, we all get busy, we all get months go by, weeks go by, years go by, and then prepare for the audit now, and maybe inspect what your processes are now, so that when they come in, 8 months, a year, whenever they come, because they are going to come. You're not surprised by it, and you're not like, I wish I would have done that 8 months ago, or whatever the case may be. It just take some time to look at your processes, and make sure everything's good now. So
yeah, excellent. All right. Well, Jason Tuck, David Reinicke, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me. It was fun. I appreciate your perspective, and we'll have to talk again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg.